All right, welcome everybody. I hope you're ready for this class. This is one that's been asked for by many people, so we'll go ahead and give it a shot. And what I'm going to present tonight to you is just a method, and there are many. And so this is not the do-all, be-all. It's just an idea, and I'm going to show you how I programmed the swing arm, as you see here. In a second, I'll bring it up. But before we get started, I want to share with you real quickly. We have a conference here in Utah every year for the school shop teachers. And for the last few years, we've been a big part of that. They work closely with us because they like to do all the projects on the CNC. So we've built some pretty cool ones. The one they're working on, they're going to do it this weekend too. I got the camera here. I'm going to turn it over. This is the chair, and this picture doesn't do it any justice, but it's a pretty phenomenal chair. It's pretty big. It didn't use any clamps to assemble or anything. It uses these dovetails to interlock everything together. He did put some brass pins back in here and did the seat and everything. But this is a project that they're working on. They're going to build and have ready for the school, so the students can build this project if they'd like. So they're a pretty aggressive bunch of guys that we work with. It's kind of fun to see everything they come up with. So just wanted to share that with you real quickly and let you know kind of what's going on. We may come back and do a chair as one of the projects, or have it available as a project online for you if we don't do it in a Wednesday class. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and tonight we're going to work on the swing arm. All right. And in fact, actually, let me just throw up on the well, maybe I can just share a picture with you real quickly. Okay, there you see, that's the swing arm that we're going to program, or something similar to it. Yours might be different. The reason I went to a swing arm like this is because I didn't want to hang the hose from a bunch or something, because I can't get a kink in the hose. So I wanted a way to have it, kind of supported and not kinked, and be able to swing around. And I wanted the hose to be as short as possible. So I'll show you how we kind of calculated the length of the arm and everything so we could get this to work out. And we've got 8-foot ceilings in here. So you can see I've got the 5-inch pipe right up here. And so I had to go below the pipe. So we had to check to make sure we had enough clearance to get, of course, the machine underneath the swing arm as it moves completely around. So it was kind of a tight little situation, but we did it like this. And you can see on this picture, I've got the hose coming up from the bottom. So there's a Y that comes off the vent over here behind it. And the hose just comes up inside here and then goes around. I like the idea of putting the ball joint on the machine so it pivots on that instead of just taking the hose directly into it. So there's a lot of various options, but we'll just give you a sample of maybe some ideas that you can work with. It's also critical where we place this so that it would swing. So what we had to do is look at the position of the machine in relationship to the wall, and also in relationship to the studs that we're going to mount this board to, so that it would be positioned in the center. So I'll go through and show you basically how we did that real quickly. I'm going to use Aspire to draw. It's not my favorite, but I've got a lot of people that don't want to learn another piece of software, CAD software. So we're going to do it in here. It doesn't have all of the features that I normally have in my CAD software, but it'll work just fine here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project, or the blank, and I'm going to make it the size of my table, because this is my vacuum table. It's 4 feet by 8 feet. So I'm going to make it 96 inches long, and we'll make it 48 inches in the Y, and it's 3/4. And we like to put the Z0 on the machine bed on the bottom.
Share your screen.
Your screen sharing is paused. What? Why is my screen sharing paused? Resume share. Oh, I know why. Okay, I got to stop sharing for a second. I got to do a new share. I shared just the photo. Share screen. So I'm going to share my entire screen, not just the photo. That's what happened. I apologize. Okay. So can you see my my desktop now with the Aspire?
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that. You got to be careful what you share. I shared just the image and not the entire screen. Okay, so I'm going to make it 96 at 48, 3/4, and we'll put Z0 on the machine bed. This is my standard setup with the XY data position in this corner. So it's set up for the vacuum table on my machine. We'll click OK. Now we're actually going to design the parts on here, but first of all, we have to design the swing arm and how it's going to clear everything and what it's going to do. So I'm going to start off by drawing a line on here. Okay, and then I'm going to move that line using my move tool relative to where it's at in the y-axis. I'm going to go 39 inches. Right? So this is my wall, and from the wall to the edge of the table, not the edge of the machine, but to the edge of the table, is 39 inches. Right? Looking down from the top view. So my swing arm is going to be positioned right here in the center and land on this wall and be able to swing right here. So this will help us determine the length of the swing arm, so it's not too long and it's not too short. Okay. I'm going to draw another line on here to help me. Just give me a kind of a reference. Let's get out of there and do that again. So this line is going to be down along the bottom here. And then the same thing, I'm going to use this to move it up. We'll move it up 16 inches. So 1/3 of the table, like so. So I want the arm to end right here. So it's going to swing back and forth like this. And then the hose will reach this corner when it's here. And when it's in the center, it'll reach back to this edge. And that'll give me a nice kind of center the end of the arm for me. So depending upon now the size of the hose you're going to be using, you can build this a different. I'm going to build it as 6-inch, but you can obviously build it as 5. So I'm going to draw a top view of the part. All right, and I don't know how long I'm going to make it yet, so I'm just going to draw it up here like this. And so this says 80 inches, and I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it 3/4 of an inch, 0.75. Okay. And then, oh, it looks like I have radiuses on those corners. Let me go back in and fix that real quickly. Yeah, let's do a square corner, not a radius. And I'm just going to Control-C and Control-V to copy and paste. And then I'll use this move. And in the y-axis, I'm going to move it. I want the opening to be 6 inches. So I'm going to move it back. I'm going to move it 6 3/4 of an inch so that I have 6 inches spacing between these two. So this is a top view. These are actually the side pieces that go down. And then, of course, I'll have a piece in the middle. It'll be along the top. So we can draw that in real quickly just by drawing another rectangle. And I'm gonna take it from this corner to this corner. And again, I don't know the length yet, but I'm not worried about it. I'm just getting the basic construction, and then we'll figure out the length. All right. Now, when I join these together, I like to cut a rabbet in here so that a relief. So I'm going to make that part. I've got it selected. I'm just going to increase the size right here. We'll unlink it, so it's still 80, but we're going to make it 6 1/4, 0.25. And I added the next decimal plate. So 6.25 inches. And what that does, of course, it makes so that it goes in 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to cut this rabbet into the side pieces, and this top piece is going to fit down into it, and it makes it easy to assemble and to glue. All right, so now we can focus on, we're going to have a radius down here that we're going to swing on. So I'm just going to build a circle, and I'm just going to go from the center here up to there. I'm also going to create another one All right, another circle that it'll actually pivot on, and I'm going to make it 1 inch in diameter. So I'll make the diameter 1 inch, and then I'll just click here in the center, and it'll place it right there. So that's the pivot point, and this will show me the clearance. So if I swing it, of course, I can put this against the wall or the mounting plate, and it'll clear. So for example, if I was to draw the wall in here right now, I could draw something like this. We'll make this the width 0.75, and let's make it about 32 inches, something like that. And then we can take this and zoom in here a little bit and just drag it till it snaps to that point. So that would give me 0 clearance. And so I might take this and move it back maybe maybe 1/8 of an inch or something. So relative in the x-axis, I'll go 0.125. So when I swing it on this point and it goes 90 degrees, I'll have a little bit of gap here, so it won't be rubbing on that baseboard. Right. Now I'm going to draw one other circle in here because this board, I tried setting the settings for this mouse and it doesn't work. I got to get a different mouse. This is a nightmare. Okay, but I'm gonna swing this one out here to that point right there. So this one here is just to give me my clearance. So I'm going to delete it because I'm not going to use it. And I'm going to use my scissor tool here to come in and trim this up. Whoops. All right, there we go. So now this piece, well, let me trim that other part as well, and I'll have it rejoined. So now this piece right here is it didn't join. Okay, let me see if I can join these together. Oh, here's the problem. I've still got this this vector right here, so you really need to zoom in. All right, let's see if that rejoined. If not, we'll join it later. No, it didn't. Okay, so if I take this guy and this guy, then I can join it. Maybe I can join it. No, it's not going to let me join. So we'll worry about that later.
Right click and then select join vector.
Join close vector. Move endpoints with smooth curve with a line. We'll just do it with a line. All right, let's see if that.
Hey, Tracy, this is John.
You bet.
I found in the version 11 that I can't join anything either. I always got to use join it with the little line segment or arc. I can't get it to join naturally anymore in this version.
Interesting. All right. All right. So here, this is the top view and the spacing from the wall. And so I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to rotate it so that it's like so. I'll actually center it so that it's in the center of my table here. And then we're going to move it down. So let me just kind of get this close so that I can zoom in and move it. So I'm going to grab this point right here and see if we can find it to the center. Okay, so there it is along the edge, and we can ensure that it's centered on the table by using the align tools over here on the left. There we go. So again, this line represents my wall. There's my mounting plate, and I'm going to have a pivot point that it's going to swing. So that means that this doesn't have to be so long. I can just bring it back to here. And that determines the length for me automatically. We'll do that to all three of these guys. Okay. And now if we were to draw a circle in here, we could kind of get the arc. So it's going to go right there to right there. That's the arc of the end of the thing. And that looks like it's going to work just fine. I could actually calculate exactly the distance from here to here and from here to here to make sure it's perfect, but this is going to be plenty close. It might only be, you know, an inch or so off. So this is going to work. So I can erase these because we're not going to use those. They're just kind of guides. So that's how the arm is going to be in relationship to the wall, the length of the arm and so on. So now we can start designing the parts for the wall itself, or for not the wall, but the swing arm. So I'm going to take all of this. I'm going to Control C and Control V. And then I'm just going to move it over here out of the way. And we'll rotate it, something like that. So now we can work on drawing this part up. Now we have the top part basically done here. We're going to cut holes into it because we want to remove as much material as possible to make this swing arm as light as possible. So we're going to do that on the sides and the top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a part, and I'll just use this as guides. Okay. And I need glasses. There we go. All right, so it's that long, it's that length, the sides are, but I'm going to make them in the width, make them as wide as you want. I'm going to make it maybe like 10 inches or 12 inches or something like that. Wrong one. Okay, let's make it 10 inches here. I really need to get my glasses on. Okay, and then we can just move this down. So I can either drag it down, or I can use my arrows on my keyboard, or I can use the move tool. We'll just get it down here, something like this. So this is just kind of an outline of the side piece. And I haven't found a really, oh, I have rounded corners in here as well. So I'm going to have to go back in and change this to square corners, like so. I haven't found a really good way to do this next part. So what I'm going to do is draw a line from here to here. And it didn't go snap to where I wanted it exactly. Let's try it again from here to here. Okay, now that line, I'll use the move tool, and relative, we're going to go down 6.75. And I went positive, we want a negative. So I'll undo that and go back down to minus 6.75. All right. So I just needed that point right there, and I needed an easy way to do that. So I'm going to show you a couple of techniques. You may not like the way I do it, but it's one method and you can change it. I put it into node editing mode by using the letter N, and I'm just going to drag this up to there. So now that is the shape, or close to it, the shape of what I want. I want it thicker here and as thin up here as possible. Now I know I'm going to have this part inside here. If I draw a rectangle, let's try that again. Okay, I'm going to start right here and just bring it down like this. Now I can make it in the width, we'll make it 0.75. And then to get the length, I'll just drag it down to this edge. So I'll double click on it so I get to that, grab this down, it's just going to snap to there. And then, of course, I can move it by grabbing, come back. My mouse will grab this corner and just snap it to there. So that is the top piece right there. And I need to have a flat piece down here for it to pivot on as well. And so by looking up here at this part, okay, interesting. I actually trimmed this incorrectly, it looks like. Okay, I'm gonna, this is what might have been was screwing me up. I'm going to delete this point. Well, I'm not going to delete that point. I'm going to cut this. Cut the vector. So somehow this screwed me up, but we'll see if we can fix it real quickly. And I don't want that. And I don't want that. And of course, that was part of that. We're having a good time here. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll trim these up. Okay, now we're going to go back and draw our circle again from the center here up to that point. All right, so now I should be able to cut it and it should join it right back here. So this becomes part of this. We're going to try it one more time and see what happens. We'll join them together. Not both of them, just the one. And we'll try it here as well. Now let's see if that is right. Yeah, okay, that's how it works. I don't know what I had done to screw that up before, but now this looks right. Okay, so that is the top part we've got in here. That's our pivot hole, and those are our side pieces. And so this is the side view, and that's the top part right there. All right, now I'm going to need a flat spot down here because I'm going to have to pivot right here. So if I drew a circle in here the same size as this arc, I already had one, but I'm just going to draw one in like so to give me a position. I'm going to copy that, Control C and Control V. And I'm going to move this one down to there. All right. So this is going to pivot around this ring right here. This could be an opening for the hose to go into. So I need a blank down here at the bottom that is this long. So I'll just draw a line here. It goes from this corner here down, and we'll just make it extra long. It doesn't matter. All right. So now what we're going to try to do is I'm going to go into node editing, and right here, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say insert a point. And then I'm going to see if I can reference this corner. Yeah, sure enough, right there. Okay, so by inserting a point and reference this corner, it made it go straight. So now I have a straight edge down here, the width that I need, and a straight edge up here. So I don't need this line any longer. Okay. And in reality, if I was to draw, I could probably use a reference point to do this, but if I drew a line straight down like so, oh, I hate this mouse. Okay, then I can take this guy, and it, in reality, it's going to come all the way back to here. So that top piece comes all the way back here, and I need a bottom piece that does the same thing. So we'll just draw something in here, starting from this corner here, and we'll go to this corner, and we'll make it in the y-axis, we'll make it 0.75. And then we will get out of there, come back, all is forgiven. All right, now we'll grab this guy right there and just snap it to that corner. Okay, so I'm going to have a flat piece at the bottom here and a flat piece that comes at the top. And so the bottom piece is going to be just this end. It's not going to go all the way along. It's just going to get, it's only going to go to this point. But now I can pivot off that point right there. And this is our side view. So we've got the basic construction done here now. All right. We would need to lay out, you know, the whole of this piece right here. So if I was to copy this, I don't need that any longer. I'm going to delete it. I'm to copy this and Control C, Control V, and let's just slide it down here a ways, like so.
Yeah.
I would need a part that is this long right here. I can zoom in. Okay, so I would just draw a line straight down. All right, and then I could trim this as well. Okay, so this is the bottom piece. However, I do want this cutout right here, I just realized. So let's take this guy and Control C, Control V, grab it from the center and just snap it to the center of this line. All right, and then of course, we need this circle here, Control C, Control V. Let's just snap it to the center of that right there. And then let's trim this up. So basic, oops, and I didn't get that hole centered. Let's see if we can center it to, I'll just put it back here first, and then I'll use this as a reference. There we go. Okay, so this is the edge side view, and that's the top view of that part. And this is the top view of this part up here at the top. And of course, this is that side rail. So does that make sense to everybody? Everybody following me so far? You got a question, jump in here.
I have a question.
You bet.
Why the arch on that bottom piece? Why is it cut out?
Okay, the reason I cut this right here at the bottom out is because my hose is going to come up here. And if I don't have it cut out, then the hose can't go in until it's clear down here. But by cutting it out back to this point here, I can have the hose come in here closer to the wall. That's the only reason, is for the hose to come up.
Thanks.
Okay, because if this was straight across, the hose would be clear down here, but this just allows me to move the hose back in here closer to the wall. All right. Now, there's a couple of ways here to kind of remove some material. We want to retain the structural strength, but we want to remove as much material as possible. So one of the techniques that I'll use is I've got this outside here selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my offset tool over here on the left. And I'm going to say offset by 2 inches, and we're going to go inwards. And I've got it selected. So when I click OK, it creates this, a second vector here. And this is what I'm going to use to as guides to kind of trim out holes that go inside here. Okay. So now before I can do too much here, I got to do a couple of things. The hose is going to come in this side. It's going to go over here, and then it's going to come down this side right here at the end. So I'm going to need a piece that goes essentially from here back. And I can use, this works really nicely. I can say, do it 45 degrees and make it 10 inches is more than I need, but that'll give me an idea. So I'm going to have a piece inside here that when the hose comes out, I can either use a zip tie to put it to, or I can mount it to that piece, and then it's going to drop straight down here. So we'll cover that more in a minute, but I would do the same thing here. I hate this mouse. I have to get a new mouse. Okay, so we know that the hose can come in right there. And so I can draw a line here from this point, and I can have it move this way, and I'll have it go 135 degrees. And we'll make this one longer. I'm going to make it 20 inches. We can always trim it. Okay, so these are just guides that shows that, let me get rid of this now. Get rid of it. This just simply shows that the hose can come in right here, and it can go along the long inside here, and then it's going to roll back down here, and I can actually attach it to those braces. These braces will give me strength, of the overall design, and also give me something tied to for the hoses. So now with this in here, I can decide where I want to cut these holes out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a couple more construction lines. And I'm going to go from that point just straight down. And I'm going to go from this point straight down like that. And now I'm going to measure this. Okay, so from here to here, I got to do horizontal, sorry. From here to here, it is 50.5113, and we can round that to probably 50.1 and be just fine. 50.5, I'm sorry, or 55.51 if we want to go 2 decimal places. All right, so I have to decide how many cutouts I want in here, and I like to have 4 or 5, just depends on the part. So if I take this line right here and I use this array tool, copy and array, I can say I want just one row of these lines that goes along here, and I want, let's say, 6 lines, okay? And I want an offset. In the Y, I want 0, but in the X, I want, and I need to zoom in to see what that dimension was again. It was, come on, let go, let go, let go. Oh my gosh, I hate this mouse. 50.51. So in the X, I'm going to put 50.51 divided by 5. And then I'll hit the equal key. And it's 10.102 inches. So we'll copy that. And we'll zoom out. And you'll see here I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 openings that are equally spaced inside there. Okay. Now I'm going to cut this out, but I need a web in between here as well. So I'll use this offset tool, and I'll say, let's go 1 inch, and let's go inwards first, and that puts them all that way. And then I'll say 1 inch outwards, and it puts it that way. Okay, so now what I have is I have a basically opening that I can cut out right here. So I'm going to use my trim tool to kind of finalize what this is going to be like. Okay, and this will just, it'll take a minute, so we don't care about those other lines, but I just want to trim out everything that's around these openings, so I just have the opening by itself, like so. The rest of the lines we can just delete. And if somebody has a more clever way to do something like this, I would love to hear it, because this is kind of tedious work, especially with the mouse that gives you all kinds of problems. Okay, so I said close those when I clicked on them, so it cut it. So now they're all open like this, and I can come back and delete all these. Again, these are just constructions. I don't need this any longer. All right, so there I have where I want these openings. And to be honest with you, I probably should do the same thing here. I should have thought this through a little bit, but let's just do the same thing here, because we might want a set of holes on the top that match the sides. You know, that's an option, and that's what I'm going to do here. And actually, instead of doing all those, I could just select one of these, right? And I Control C and Control V, and then I can just take it down there. Control C, Control V. Same thing. If I select it and then double click to move it, I can just move it to there. Control C, Control V, and move it down, and so on. And since these are all the same lengths, I could actually take all 4 of these, Control C, Control V, and then it deselected them, so I got to reselect them. Like I say, I hate this mouse, but I'll just move them all down so you can see, instead of drawing each line individually, I can just do that. Now I could do the same thing here. I could say, if I wanted the same 2-inch spacing up here that I have up there, I could take and draw a line along this top edge and draw a second line along this bottom edge. Okay, now with that selected, I'll do another offset and we'll make this 2 inches again. And that went the wrong way, so I'm going to Control V. I'm going to say go inwards or to the other side. And then I'll click here and select this one, and I'll make this one go outwards. So I've given me 2 inches of border on the top, the same as I did on the bottom. And then we'll do the same thing. I can trim this up. Now, and the other way is that I could just trim one of these up, and then I could copy it and place it where the other ones go. Okay, so a lot of
array copy too.
Yeah, you could do an array copy if you know the distance and so on. So there's, many ways to do this. This is kind of the most laborious, most amount of work, if you will. But we're almost done, so I'll just finish this off.
Did you just copy from the side piece or from the?
You mean these lines that go vertical?
No, the horizontal.
The horizontal lines? Okay, hold on, I'll step back there. Let me just finish this.
When you did the offsets.
Okay, so what I did is I drew a line just along this top edge right here.
That one?
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But isn't that the side piece?
it is the side piece.
So-
But my overall width, I wanted 2 inches from the overall width.
Okay,
And that's why I
okay.
went from there.
Okay.
Okay. And that is just again, it's just a guide. I could have moved those instead of offsetting those, and then I wouldn't have to erase them. Okay. And then I'll just erase all this garbage. Okay. So we're getting pretty close here. By the way, when I designed I did 2 of these, one at 4 inch and one at 6 inches. On the 4 inch, I made it so the hose just came up from the bottom. On the other one, I didn't know if I wanted the hose to come up from the bottom or drop down from the top. So I actually left this hole right here in the top piece. And I'll just show you. I won't do it on this particular example, but I had a piece come up here on a 45 as well. And so the hose could come down through here, and I had relieved a circle here like I did on this bottom piece. So the hose could come down through here and out, or it could come up through here and out, either way. So just an option. I ended up only using the bottom, so it was unnecessary to have this hole, but I did put it in just in case. All right, so then the one tool that I wish this had, and it may have it in the gadgets, but I haven't looked for it or used it, is to draw circles based on tangents. So in my other CAD software, TurboCAD, I can say draw a circle based on 3 lines, tangent to 3 lines. So these are not, rectangles. They're kind of odd shape. And so this side's wider than this. So I can't draw a circle here that goes from here to here and touch this line as well easily. So what I'm going to do, because that would have made perfect circles on each end, regardless how big it was. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use this fillet tool, and I'm going to give it, say, maybe 1.25 inches. And then I'll come up here, and it'll change to a check mark every time I use it. Okay. And so this gives me a radius, which I kind of like. Like I said, I use TurboCAD, and I could do a tangent off the 3 lines. And so it was a full radius, all the way around, which I liked, but I couldn't find how to easily do it inside Aspire. So I did here. Now, this is another time when it would make sense to build this one all by itself completely, and then do an array of these other ones, because they're all exactly the same. But
Tracy, can you try
Yeah.
doing it using the arc tool? Go to the arc tool and you pick the center of your line, and then you pick the top and the bottom.
all right, let's try it here. Let's try it from here to here to
No, pick the center of the end line or the end of the rectangle.
Center here.
No, the center of the line at the, go to the
Here?
left. You're right in the
Here?
center there, yeah. And then pick
And
the
then go-
top and then pick the bottom. Oh, you got it, there you go.
Okay, so there you go. I like that. Thank you very much. I like
Similar
that.
to similar to what you can do on AutoCAD with the different point
Right.
arcs and stuff, depending on where you
And-
start.
And I like this better than, just the other one. So thank you very much. This is awesome.
Just another way of doing it, right?
Yeah, and I like this better. Now I'll use these trim tools and make sure they're rejoined, and I can trim off these. And so that'll give me,
Now you gotta be careful because some of them might not be tangent. So you
right.
have to look at that.
And if they're not tangent, we're in trouble. So it
they're
kind of,
not.
yeah, you can see it didn't quite work there.
And that's
So
because
I
of
would
the
have
angle.
to,
That's
Yeah, I'd
because
have
of the
to
angled line.
yeah. So I'll have to work this out a little bit. I'm not gonna spend the time doing it right now, but there is the option if you want to experiment with that and play with it. So we're just gonna delete these right now and we'll use this method. Now let's go back and finish this top one real quickly.
You could probably also just do a bigger radius on your fillet.
Yeah, I couldn't go bigger than what would fit on this very small one. I could increase the fillet on each one, but to make it simple, I just did it like that. And it looks nice. I mean, it's cool looking. I like it. All right. All right, so now we have this bottom piece designed. We have the top piece designed. We have the side piece designed. What I don't have is I don't have a piece that goes right in here. And I know that it's 45 degrees. If I use this measuring tool right here and I say measure from here to here, it tells me that my distance, it doesn't print it on the screen. It just tells me in this little box over here that my distance is 12 inches. So I haven't found a clever way to do this either. So if anybody has any ideas, let me know. But I'm going to draw a box out here. I'm going to make it 10 inches by 3/4 of an inch. And I'm just going to put it right. And of course, it didn't do that. Let's do a 10 inches by 3/4 and apply that. Okay, and then I know I need to rotate it to 45 degrees, and then I can take that and, place it in here where I want it to go. But I couldn't figure out an easy way to draw it based on that 45-degree angle. So I just did it like that instead. All right, and then I could draw the same thing down here. So I'll just measure to give me an idea from here to here.
Can you do an offset?
I could do an offset of 3/4 of an inch, but I got to draw now 90 degrees, lines off of perpendicular to that line, and so on. So that's a possibility. I haven't played much with it. This distance is 4.8, so I might make it maybe 4 inches. So I do the same thing here. If I want to do this one, if I just drag it out here, I'll make it 0.75 by 4 inches and apply that. And then I'll use the letter 0 or 9 to rotate it. And then I'll just double click to move it. And I'm going to grab this side and move it to the center like so. And 4 inches isn't enough. So I'm going to Control Z to bring it back.
It was
here.
8.4. It was 8.4, Tracy. And
Oh, is
not
that
at
what it was?
4.8.
8.4? Okay. So we'll come back in here. We'll make this maybe 7.5, a little bit less. That's what happens when I don't have my glasses on. So now we'll rotate it. And again, double click it and grab this edge and just put it up against there. Now that's a little too long. So let's take it down. We'll make it maybe 6 inches. Okay, come back. So we'll try this one more time. Yeah, let's just make it 6. We don't care if it's exact. And again, it's just a spacer, so the length is not that critical, but you can see how I left gap at each end. Okay, so now I would cut this pocket in the side pieces an 1/8 inch deep. I would cut this rabbet up here at 1/8 inch deep on the parts, and do the same thing here, and then cut these parts out. So if I need this part, I'm going to Control C, Control V, and I'm just going to drag it out here somewhere, and I'm going to rotate it so that it's level. So that is the length of the part that I need, but I need it a 6 plus 1/4, an 1/8 inch on each side in order to fit into that pocket. So I would come back into here, and I would simply change this to, instead of 0.75 to 6.25. So there is the part that's going to fit right inside here. And I could do the same thing here. Control C, Control V, bring it down here, rotate it, change it to 6.5 in the y-axis, or 6.25, I'm sorry, like that. So that's the cutout part that goes inside here. Here's the cutout part that goes here. That's the bottom part. And here's the top part with these cutouts and that hole. And if you don't want this hole, you wouldn't put it in. We just wouldn't program it. And we'd have it be ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and just move it out of the way. It's served its purpose, but I'll leave it there. And let's put these guys kind of where we want them. Now I'm going to need 2 of, yeah, I'm going to leave this as a master, if you will. And I'm going to Control C and Control V. I like to do this so that if I want to go back and make a change, I make it to the master, and then I can modify it. Now this one here, what we're going to do, we just need to get it so that it fits in this blank. And I need 2 of these. And so I'll Control C, Control V, and let's see, we may want to mirror this. Maybe
Tracy,
not.
are those arms rights and lefts?
Yeah, I'm going to have to do a mirror to make it a left and a right. Okay. So if I flip it, and we're looking at it, so how do we, if I can get all the material in here, I don't care if it takes up the space in here, I can just mirror copy it. So let's go to mirror. And we won't do it about the job center. We'll create a mirror copy, and we'll just do bottom like that. And then we'll take that and just push it down a little bit. Okay, so I don't need all of this, for example. Okay, we don't need that. We don't need this or this. We can delete all of these. Okay, so there's the 2 parts, the left and the right. And then we don't need, for right now, we don't need this. We've got the master copy, so I can get rid of these guys. Whoops. Let me zoom in a little bit so I can grab the right part.
What is your wood, Tracy?
And I'm going to take that circle. I'm sorry, what was that?
What wood are you using?
I used pre-finished plywood. It's a cabinet plywood. And I originally got my first sheet at Home Depot, but they don't normally carry it. So I got some at a local dealer that sells cabinet grade plywood that was pre-finished. Now, if you can't get the pre-finished, just use a cabinet grade plywood because you want it, straight and true and strong. You don't want a lot of voids. You want a quality piece of plywood for this. And so I use 11 ply, 3/4 inch ply. And again, mine was pre-finished, so I didn't have to do anything when it was all done. Okay, now we can take all these guys and we'll just throw them onto the blank. And you can see they'll all fit here, and I can rearrange this if I want. The only thing I haven't shown here is that I would like to have these pockets in here for the dados. So I would need to draw those in. Let's go ahead and do that real quickly. Okay, and I'm just gonna do it out here so I can see it. And we'll make it 3/4. Like so. And then we can take that, I'll zoom in here. And we'll just grab this corner and stick it down to that corner. So that's going to be a dado that we're going to cut out. Okay. And we do the same thing down here at the bottom on this one. And we do it down here at this bottom edge as well. So let's do one of those. I'll just do it for one piece right now. Won't take the time to do everything. So this one I'll just bring up here and say it's 0.75. And zoom in and make sure it's not located where we want it. So we will just grab that corner and have it snap to that edge. So I'm going to cut out this little rabbit and this little rabbit and these dados inside here. And then these pieces will all fit inside here, and that will fit between. So the last thing that I would have is I want to have holes in here so I can screw this together when it's all done. So I could glue it and then just come back and use a drill bit that's countersinks and drills and then pilots the other, or I can just drill the holes in this base table to start with. And you can determine the spacing whatever you want on here. If you want to put the holes between right in here or whatever you want to do, you're just going to take and put a hole in here of a certain size, and you could do an array along here. I'm not going to bother to do that right now, but you could put holes all the way along here every 6 inches or so. All right. And do the same thing down here. You create a rabbit that goes down here at the bottom and put the holes in here as well. And then I put the holes in here as well. And if I make this it's a 2-inch, a 0.2-inch diameter hole, I could just place them like this. And to be honest with you, I hate working on these angles. I don't know of a clever way to do it. So when I drew this part up, had it here 3/4, I'd probably put the holes in here and then rotate it and put it up like this. But for right now, I just threw holes in here. They may not be perfectly centered or exactly, 1 inch in or whatever, but they'll work just fine. So you can just eyeball it and throw it in there and it's going to be fine. So, and you would do the same thing down here as well. Okay, so I might put them something like that. All right, and it could have holes up in here. Again, I would lay this all out and do an array and make them really nice, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. Just showing you the basic concept. And this will cut out everything for the swing arm. Now we do have this base up here, and I drew. Come on. I hate this mouse.
Tracy,
Yeah.
wouldn't you now redo your mirroring?
Say that again.
Wouldn't you now redo the mirroring of?
Once I have the holes and everything in here. Yeah. Build one
That's
part
right.
and then mirror. You're right, Carl. That'd be the best. I didn't think ahead, so I mirrored and then came back and says, "Oh, I need the holes." So yeah, you're absolutely right. That would have been a better approach to it. Lay those out as an array, get them all exactly the way you want it. Oh, the other thing that I did too, and I'm not going to really lay this out carefully, but I'm just going to show you. I put a hole in here, and I made it say 0.51, just over a 1/2 inch in diameter. And if I lay out a line along here and then push them up so that I can drill a hole in here, then I put a dowel through here, and that's what supports the hose that's going through here. On the picture that I have, I've got zip ties. You can actually see the holes here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, you can see the holes here, and there I have a dowel through that one right there. But when they built it, they didn't have the dowel, so they just zip tied it around here to hold it in place. But I just put the dowels in here, and that lets the hose just rest on it. And so that's what I would do here, is put holes in it, as far apart as you want to put a dowel across there. And then this is a 1-inch hole. So I used a 1-inch dowel that I got from Home Depot. And I put a shaft collar on top to hold it. So it just comes down and the shaft collar locks it in place up here at the top. Okay. So the only thing that we have left here is this support that's going to go on the wall. Did I mention I hate this mouse? Okay. So here we go. I want to show you how I would lay this out. I'm going to draw a circle here that I deleted already. And the only reason I'm going to do that is because I need to know, and this has to have square corners. Obviously it was radiused. Okay, so I need to know how to make this top piece that goes right here. And it's going to sandwich this right here. So it's going to go on the outside. So we can figure out that in a second. But let's start off by just drawing a vector maybe from this corner to right there. And that would work just fine. We could do the same thing here, from here to there. Okay, and now I could copy this and I could make this, well, let me just do it so that you can see how I do it. I'll just Control-C, Control-C, Control-V, and move it over here to the side. Okay, obviously I don't need this. And I can trim this up now. And then I could, this is the dado right here. And then I could create a toolpath to cut this part out. And that's the top and the bottom piece right here that it's going to hinge on. And then I need this piece right here. And so if I Control-C, Control-V, I'll just bring it out here and rotate it 90 degrees. I may not, actually, I probably don't want to rotate it, but let's rotate it. This is how long we're going to make it. And we have to decide how wide, how tall it is going to be now. So I'll use my drawing here. Let's take this and move it all down so I have some room. Okay. And I'm going to have a piece that's going to go like this. And I didn't mean to do that. Okay, I'm just going to sketch this in. Okay. And this guy here, I might want to move it up. I'd move it up 1/8 of an inch. So I just use my arrow keys, but I would use this and move it up 1/8 of an inch. So in the Y, I would go 0.125. And because I cut a nylon washer, it's an 1/8 inch thick, and I cut a hole, 1-inch hole in it, and I cut a disc, and I put it right between here. So that's what it rotates on. It's a bearing material, if you will. So I would need this piece, and I'm being lazy. So let's not be lazy. Let's actually finish this off. I'm going to make it 3/4. Like so. And now it changed the size. In fact, let's undo that. I'm going to Control-Z to undo it. I'm going to go back in here again. This time I'm going to anchor it to this corner and then move it. Oh, I don't want to draw it. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, I do. Okay, we're going to anchor it to that corner and we're going to make it 0.75. And that way, I must not have done it. Okay, let's put it back here. And now we'll move it to 0.125. Okay, so there's my 1/8 inch gap that I have on here. And then the base table is going back here, but I'd also have one of these down here as well. So I'll put that there and then I'll use this to move it down minus 0.125. Okay, so again, my washer is going to fit between here. And so this board that's going to go up and down here is going to be this big. It's going to go from this corner down to here, but come over, and I'm going to make it in the X only 3/4 of an inch. And then we can move it back to that corner. Okay, so I can run screws down through here, But if I want to rabbet this the same way, I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to make it bigger in the height by an eighth or a quarter inch. So I'll make it 10.5. And so you can see now that as we cut that dado in that top piece and the bottom piece, actually, let me go back and do that again. When I resized it, I need to anchor it in the center. I anchored it at the corner, so it moved it up, but I want to anchor it at the bottom. So we'll make this 10.5. And now you can see I've got an 1/8 inch going down and an 1/8 inch going up. So this part right here is going to be that long. And I can look down here and see that it's 10.5. So I can simply make this part 10.5 high. Okay. So there's this back plate that we're going to cut out. So I'm going to put this over here as well. And you obviously might want to put some hole patterns in here, but if you don't know where the studs are on the wall, you may want to just cut this out, figure out where you're going to place it, and then drill the holes to to do that as well. And we might find that this works better if we rotate it and then place it in here. And then we can, of course, move all this other stuff. Position it where we want it. Now I'm going to have this piece right here as well. We've already got it drawn. I would have 2 of these. So I'll Control C and Control V and zoom out, and we'll put this over here. And it looks like I might be able to put one this way, and then I'll Control C, Control V, and I might rotate this one this way. Okay, so I'm nesting this just manually. Of course, you could nest this using the nesting properties, but sometimes it'll nest these on angles and things like that, which I don't want. So I just do it manually and give me enough space to cut all the way around these parts. And then I'm ready to go. So these are all the components that have the top and the bottom of the plate. Here's the back plate that they're going to mount on. I would put holes along here as well. And again, I'm not going to bother to do it right now, but I'd make it say 0.2. And, I might put it in the center right here. And then I would use the move tool to go negative, minus 1 inch or whatever you want. And you could do the same thing on the other end. You could array it. You could, do whatever. You want a series of holes along this edge and a series of holes along this edge. And of course, along these edges as well. And I haven't bothered to finish this one. I would finish this one and then mirror it like Carl suggested. Same thing. These I would actually don't need to mirror because they're perfectly symmetrical. I'm going to show you my original design. I made a plate and offset the hole, and I put a part here so that the swing couldn't swing out farther than this angle right here. It could swing all the way against the wall going this way, but when it swung out this way, it would only go to the end of the table. I didn't want it to come all the way back to the wall. So I set up this way, but because this is offset, I had to do a mirror image of this plate as well, where on this other one, I did not have to mirror it because they're exactly the same. They're symmetrical. All right, so we're going to wrap it up with this class here. In the next class, we'll program. All right, and I will go ahead and lay out the holes and get everything ready so that we can program. And once you have this done, you just throw your sheet on. You set your XY datum position here in this bottom corner, which in my case is my vacuum table. And then I would set the Z0 using the multiple tools on the base table, and I would turn the vacuum on to make sure that I got an accurate reading when the vacuum's on, and do that on the spoil board. And then you just throw this on and cut it once we've programmed the parts. So we're going to call it a day here. I do want to open it up for any questions, see if you have any questions or suggestions on this part.
You might want to dog bone those pockets or those rabbits for the pieces to go in.
Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. So I'd either dog bone these corners right here, which is probably the way to do it, because then I don't have to radius the other parts. If you don't dog bone them, this would be radius inside here like we did out here, but it would be the radius of the cutter. And so you would need to round off the ends of these parts with a router bit, okay, which you could do, but dog bone is going to save all of that work. So that's a brilliant suggestion. I'll add that to this part. Just so people can see how a dog bone works real quickly while we're on this subject. If this was the part and this is the cutout and we want to create a dog bone, then we go into, and I don't have my glasses on, so I apologize.
Left.
Where the freak is the dog bone?
So next one over.
This one here?
Other way.
This one here?
No, left. There.
This one? Okay. Oh, here we go. Dog bone. Okay. And then you give it a radius right here. So if I'm using a 1/4 inch bit, then my radius is 0.125. Okay. And then what I would do is just bring this in here and it changes to a check mark when I hit that. And I just click on it and it'll create that dog bone. So now my square part will fit in here and it'll clear that corner. Okay, so pretty simple to do if you can see which icon you're trying to select. I had cataract surgery and I have 20/15 vision. I can see flies on the mountain, but I cannot see my laptop. Okay, you can see the dog bones there. All right, any other suggestions or comments?
Tracy,
Yes.
you can buy a Bellin mouse at Walmart for about $12.
I'm going to do that. I thought I was being really tricky. I'll show you this real quick and to stop sharing.
Who's going to set up the GoFundMe page?
You can find one for free in Chris's office.
That's right. Now this should turn on my.
Tracy, you probably didn't see it, but somebody suggested we start a GoFundMe page for you to get a new mouse.
Right. I need a GoFund for the camera too, because this camera keeps turning off on me. Let me see if I can get it started.
Hey, Tracy, this is John.
Yes. Sorry about that. Real quickly, this is my mouse. It's really clever. I can pack it up flat and take it when I travel on the plane and stuff. It's Bluetooth, so I don't take up my USB, but it sucks. So I'll go get a regular mouse for this.
But you hate it. It's great you can travel with it, but you hate it.
I travel with it, but I hate it. Okay.
Hey, Tracy,
John, you had a, yeah.
Yeah, Mark was kind enough to mention that if you go into in version 11, the tolerance to join, you need to change it from 0 to 0.0 some number.
All right, let's take a look. I'm going to go in here. So when I say join right here, it has a tolerance right here.
I didn't do it that way. I went in and just drew a line and then I split the line and then I put it back together and I had to put the tolerance in. Yeah.
And just set that tolerance a little bit bigger to like 0.01 and it'll usually snap it.
Right, because it's just looking to make sure the ends are within that that window or that range. Right. Okay, perfect. All righty. Any other questions?
Thank you, Tracy.
All right.
Just a quick question for Norm up there in the
chat.
No, I'm looking at his picture. Norm, what do you have there behind you? Is that for your hose, or is that for your air hose or your vacuum hose?
No, that's the sawdust collection behind me. In the chat, I uploaded a couple pictures there. You can download them if you want. It shows it better. Okay. But I've got a 6-inch hose on mine.
All right.
Okay. Whatever happened to the beta program?
The beta program? Oh, for CCAM?
Yeah, for CCAM. I've been trying to get a copy of that and haven't been able to reach Cindy or anybody to.
Okay, why don't you just drop her an email, Cindy@legacywoodworking.com. Because I assumed that we were going to reach out to everybody, but she had like
a couple of them.
100 people. You sent emails for it? Okay, would you send
Yeah,
me
I've sent
one?
a couple of emails and called like 4 times.
Already,
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll send you one.
I've had the same experience.
Okay, drop me an email, Tracy@legacywoodworking.com. I'll make sure that it gets taken care of.
Quick question.
Yeah.
How much noise did your cyclone make?
You know, I have it wide open. I don't have it enclosed anything. You can see it behind me back here. And if I'll just turn it on. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it real well, but
I think it's 65 decibel.
Yeah, that's the Oneida.
I have an Oneida, and I can talk over the top of it when it's running.
Cool.
I have one of the Lagunas in there. It's pretty quiet. I can talk in front of it.
Well, mine, I went from a 2-horse to a 3-horse, and now it's sucking stuff off my table that I never thought would be. It's grabbing some pretty big stuff.
so I definitely can hear it. But what I'm going to do is on that back wall, I'm working with Michael Samarza, and he's actually designed a series of cabinets. One cabinet will enclose the dust collection, and we'll put some soundproofing material on it, so it'll dampen that. Probably won't completely contain it 100%, but it'll dampen it quite a bit. So that's going to be nice because we'll enclose that in a cabinet, and then we'll have cabinets all across the back wall for storage. So my shop isn't just a big mess because I can have place to put something.
One of the best sound installations is a egg crate. Just
a foam egg crate?
Cardboard.
Cardboard.
Yeah, what comes in, your eggs come in.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can buy that in sheets.
Don't you remember watching Laugh-In? The guy on the radio always had his booth. Or was that the other show, the Hee-Haw show?
Hee-Haw, yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that'll dampen your sound, but kills your cholesterol.
I read about those in the history books.
Very good, Alan.
It's not a modern history book because they've taken it.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this file. I'll clean it up a little bit. I'll add the holes and stuff like that, and I'll go ahead and post it as a VCarve profile, so that if you have a Spire, you can open it as well. And so you can use it as a as a template or as a guide or kind of an idea. And next week we'll go through and program it, so you'll see our feeds and speeds and the router bits and all the processes as we go through that. I won't bother to cut here because it takes a while, but I do have some video of it cutting, so we'll just play a few minutes of the video so you can see how it all comes together. And then one thing I'll mention now is that when you go to screw it together, do not use Phillips head screws. Use a construction screw with a T, what is it, T15, T25, whatever the construction screw is. Those are awesome. Just don't use the Phillips pan head. The heads strip out and they suck. I'll show you what I use when we get to that point. Okay, anything else?
Post as a DXF file for those of us that are still on version 10.
Oh yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll do it as a DXF so that anybody can open it up.
Hey, Tracy.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
If you want to use your sheetrock screws, the abrasive on there to lock in the sheetrock is causing your problem. So the trick is just put a little bit of paste wax on it before you drive it in, and it'll go in a lot smoother. But you're right. I love those little T10 screws. Those things are awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't take any pressure. You don't. You just put it up there and drive it in. I use it when in my construction all the time. 3-inch screws I can drive in without even thinking about it. So I highly recommend them. They're awesome. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down, and we'll see you guys all next week. I'll look at the chat, see if I'm sure the chat is recorded. I'll look at a way so that you can input photos or input things see if we can come up with a solution. And if you have any suggestions, go ahead and email me. Let me know what you think. All right.